Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all of your emotions, all of your thoughts, all of your fears, all laziness, all doubt, all things within your consciousness, within the center of yourself, within from your gargaros, your throat, all the way to your belly button, your shore, even down through your hands and your feet that control the rest of your body, through your 12 cranial nerves, your 12 melanin centers, your 12 optic nerves, the things, your axons and your dendrites that sends messages from your brain to your rest of your body, that one may come into alignment and into subjection into the one who sits in the highest order, the one who sits above all gods of the 13, all Allahims, the one who has Shaphat and Mishpat in the midst of the Allahims, Yahuwah Allahim, who sits in the highest Shamayim above all people and all beings and all Shamayims in all of the cosmos. Yahuwah Allahim with his son Yahusha, who sits at his right hand, who gives life and understanding to our inner man and our inner being, those who walk after not after the flesh but after the Ruach Chdsh and be filled with the Ruach Chdsh. All of creation waits for the manifestation, for you to manifest and to be changed in a moment, the twinkling of an eye, into the sons of Elohim. So this Yom, as this day, as the Shabath, that cease from our labors and our works and our selfish self, that we may ride upon the wings of the wind, that he may feed us with our akla, of our heritage, and that he may expose every single thing that's within ourselves, that we may destroy it within ourselves, that we may walk in newness of life continually in this world. So this day we acknowledge him, Yahuwah Elohim, who made all the jagged rocks of all the mountains throughout the world, the one who gives life and understanding and gives the rivers and the streams on the surface of the earth and under the earth to give eternal life to those that spring up to everlasting life, the one who allows things that we may understand, that by his breath and by his word and by his debar, by his rain and snow, by his fire, we are clean, and that we walk in righteousness, in purity of mind, and our hands and our feet walking in just Ifa and just Mazon and balance within. So as we move forward in kindness, we move forward in ahab, joy, peace, patience, meekness, gentleness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. You know, and without self-control in ahab, and you have to prove your love, right? Even as just keeping the commandments, but also most of all, proving your love towards the people and towards each and every single person that you come in contact with, that they may see the radiation of Yahuwah's Damu Salim in the earth, right? So this is the this is the 12 patriarchs. This is a testament of God. Yeah, testament of God, right? Testament of God, or Gad. Chapter 1, verse 7. It says, actually going over to verse 8. And regarding this matter, I was wroth with Yusuf until the day that he was sold, right? He said he was upset, right? You know how you get upset with somebody until something happened to him, something terrible happens to him, and you feel great about yourself? You're like, yes, finally something happened to him for what he did to me. But he said, and regarding this matter, I was wroth with Yusuf until the day he was sold. Why was he upset with Yusuf? He said, why? Verse 6, going to verse 6. And Yusuf told our father that the sons of Zilpah and Bilhah were slaying the best of the flock. See? That's why. Because he was exposing them. That's why. And when he said, have, right, this is interesting, right? So here we go. This is the book of 1 Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians. Right, 'cause that's what people do. Right? You say, what happens? Right, it's the first, actually Ephesians, go to Ephesus. We're not going to Ephesus. Ephesians 5 and 6. Ephesians 5 and 6. Let no one deceive you with empty words. Right? So we know that he said, this is like Balial, right? Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things the wrath of Yahuwah comes upon the sons of disobedience. Why would he come upon the sons, the Binah Hakma Da'ah, the sons and daughters of disobedience? Therefore, do not become partners with them. Why? Because the things that they do. But we know about this verse, but it's not what I want. Going to verse 9. For the fruit of light is found in all that is good and right and true. Right? So that's what the fruit of light is. And to try to discern what is pleasing to Yahuwah. take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. Now you see why he was mad at Yusuf. He was upset. Right, going back to the Testament of God, chapter 1, verse 6. And Yusuf told our father that the sons of Zilpah and Bilhah were slaying the best of the flock and eating them against the judgment of Reuben and Yehuda. They were doing what? They were killing them. And then they were eating them according to the judgment of Reuben and Yehuda. For he saw that I had delivered a lamb out of the mouth of a bear, right? And put the bear to death, but had slain the lamb, being grieved concerning it. Right? You can get upset. You can actually save someone. You can actually save someone's life. But then, by saving someone's life out of the very distress they're in, you get so upset at the thing you saved them from, and you end up slaying the very thing that you ain't supposed to kill. Because of your arguments and your grievous towards somebody else. It's the very same thing where we talked about you doing damage to Yahuwah's children. It's like a woman, you're fighting, two men striving with each other, and then the woman that's pregnant gets something happen to her. And then she loses a child. And then Yahuwah says, woe unto you who cause one of these little ones who believe in me to sin. It'd be better than a millstone be tied around your neck. You'd be thrown in the depths of the sea. But here we go. And it says, for he saw that I had delivered the lamb out of the mouth of the bear, and put the bear to death, but had slain the lamb, being grieved concerning it, that it could not live, and that we had eaten it. He said, man, we couldn't say it. But guess what? It says, and regarding this matter, I was wroth with Yusuf until the day that he was sold. He said, man, because he told on me. He told on what I did. So I'm upset. Because verse 9, and the ruach of hatred was in me. And that's what happens to you. You know, when people start exposing you and talking about the things that you do, the things you did, the mistakes you made, you know what happens? You get the spirit of hatred on the inside of you. And I wish not either to hear of Yusuf with the ears or see him with the eyes. He said, y'all don't even want to look at him. I don't even want to hear his voice. And you know what happens after that? Or see him with the eyes, because he rebuked us to our faces. He literally told you the flat out truth. He's like, man, he rebuked us right to our face. And you know what? Saying that we were eating of the flock without Yehuda. He said, you doing that junk, you eating that stuff without Yehuda, right? For whatsoever things he told our father, he believed him. Anything that he told his father, they believed him. Right? But guess what it says? I confess now, my children, he do what? You gotta expose yourself to your children. People say, I don't want to tell my children the truth about what I did in my life. If you don't do it, he said, you're not an honest individual. I want my children to think I'm some upstanding person, right? He said, I now confess, now my children, that oftentimes I wish to kill him. He said he wanted to kill the man. How many people have you ever been in that type of situation? You say, I ain't never wanted to kill nobody. Right? Yes, you did. He said, nobody's never felt like that. Then you must not be in the flesh. Because even Yahushua said himself, he said, don't you know I got power to call a whole bunch of Malachim and they'll kill everybody right now? Right? And people say, oh yeah, you never thought about it. Yahushua said, I wish it was already burning. He said, I came to send fire on earth, though I wish it was already kindled, right? So please don't be thinking like, oh, you know, the scribes and the Pharisees be like, yeah, he said kill somebody. Because I hated him from my heart. He said, I hated him from my heart. Right? You know, you can hate somebody from the heart. Moreover, I hated him yet more for his dreams. And I wish to lick him out of the land of the living, even as an ox licketh the grass of the field. Why? These are all farming terms. I want to eat him up, just like an ox eat up grass every single day that we see every day, with lions and with bears around. Where you live at? But you know what they say? They say, and Yehuda sold him secretly to the Ishmaelites, right? Right, skipping down. Verse 17. He that praises the truth, he envieth him that prospers. So go up to verse 15. And now, my children, hearken to my words of truth, to work righteousness in all the Turah of the Most High, and go not astray through the ruach of hatred. For it is evil in all the doings of men. He said it is evil. Whatsoever a man doeth, the hater abomineth him. Anything you do, it don't matter what you do. You could sing a song, you could teach a message, you could put out a wise saying. Matter of fact, you could start a business. It doesn't matter. He said, man, they're gonna hate you everlasting guts. You are an abomination to them. When the people got the spirit of hatred, ruach of hatred. You know what it says? And though a man worketh the Torah of Yahuwah, he praises him not. He said, I don't even care. I don't care if you keep all the Torah. He said, you don't even praise him not. Though a man feareth Yahuwah and taketh pleasure in that which is righteous, he loveth him not. He said, I don't even love him. That's what happens. He said, do you love me? He said, prove your love. You know what they say? Prove your love. You don't even love a person like that. Once you get this in your heart, it's over. No matter what people may say. It don't matter how many speak, how pretending people may say or make it seem like they're not, but it's actually true. Verse 17, he that praises the truth and he envieth him that prospers. That's all it is. He said you envy. Because you know what happens when, you know how people try to get you to envy them? They'll prosper and then they'll boast in your face like they prosper. Because they ain't got no sense. Because that's what people who ain't got no sense do. Yahushua it said, he that pretended to be poor have great riches, right? But you know, they boast in your face like, well, look at all this money I got. But it says right here, whatsoever a man doeth, the hater abomineth him, and though a man worketh the law of Yahuwah, he praiseth him not. Though a man feareth Yahuwah, and taketh pleasure in that which is righteous, he loveth him not. He that praiseth the truth, he envieth him that prospereth. He welcometh evil speaking, he loveth arrogance, for hatred blinded his soul. So he said, your hatred blind your soul, your nefesh, your inward man. So this could go for a female woman that's prospering, a male that's prospering. It's the same thing. Hatred blind your soul. It will. It'll be like Hannah, who the wife, the other wife, she had bore children, she didn't, and you know what she did? She mocked her. It says, the fear taketh pleasure in that which is righteous, and he loveth him not. He that praises the truth, and he envieth him that prospereth. He welcometh evil speaking, he loveth arrogance, for hatred blinded his soul. As I also then took Yusuf. Beware therefore, my children, of hatred, for it worketh with lawlessness. Depart from me, you worker of iniquity. I never knew you. Even against Yahuwah himself. Why do you think they spit in Yahushua's face? Why do you think they did that? You get what it says? For it will not hear the words of his commandment concerning love one's neighbor, and it sinneth against Elohim. For if a brother stumble, it delighteth immediately to proclaim it to all men. He's like, man, it's out here. It's over. It's out here now. Ain't nothing you can do. You know how you say the damage has already been done. There's nothing you can do about it. There is nothing you can do about it. And it's urgent that he should be judged for it and be punished and be put to death. Ain't nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it, right? So this is the book of Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. Matthew chapter 7, verse 1. It says, Shaphat not, judge not, that you should not be judged. For with what judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And what measure you use it will be measured to you. So, God, he hated Yusuf. And he told his father everything about him, what they do. And he hated him in his heart. Anything he did, it was an abomination. Whether he prospered. He said, man, the ruach of hatred blinded my soul. It blinded him. He could blind both male and female. People say, your soul ain't blind. He said, my eyes are blind. I can see with my eyes. But your soul is blind. Your nefesh is blind. Now you think about your nefesh being blind. Now think about it, that's a whole nother blindness. When your nefesh is blinded, you will hate another human being. For telling you the truth, you will hate another human being when they prosper. You will hate another human being when it's just more than you. Anything more than you. They're faster than you. They can talk better than you. They can run faster than you. They can speak better than you. They can do these things better than you. They can sing better than you. Right? You'll always be blind in your soul. You always will be. It says, why do you see the speck in your brother's eye? Because he said he blind, right? He blind, right? But you do not notice a log in your own eye. You don't know your soul, your nefesh is blind. You don't even know it. Or how can you say to your brother or sister, let me take the speck out of your eye when you have a log in your own eye, when your soul is blind? When your soul is blind. You say, how do you know your soul blind? He's like, man, you don't see that person over there? You don't see that person that has not received any type of ahab in their life? He said, you know why you don't do? He said, you know why you hate a person like that? Because your soul is blind. Well, how can you say to your brother or sister, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite. You hypocrite. You stage actor. That's what it means in Greek. A stage actor. First, take the log out of your own eye. He said, first, he said, make sure your soul ain't blind. Because if your soul blind, you know what you're going to do? And then you will see clearly. You ain't going to be seeing clearly. To take the speck out of your brother, sister's eye. Your soul so blind, you ain't going to be able to take the little speck out of their eye, his eye. Even though Yusuf exposed his brothers, right? And he put him to shame toward his father, right? But guess what? When they took him into captivity to the Ishmaelites, he learned his lesson. And he will not put his brothers to shame. And he hid their faults. Because that's what it takes. You go read the rest of the story. You go to the Testament of Yusuf and you can read it. I'm not going to read it. But that's what he did. It took him a while to learn that. He said, I hide each other's faults for you who has pleasure in unity, not division. Why? Because all the stuff that he was doing was dividing them. And everybody was, he said, one person was just blind in their soul. And then other people's accounts too. But then you'll see what it creates. But it says right here, you hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, then you will see clearly and take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give dogs what is kudash. You know why? Don't give dogs what's kudash. You know why? And do not throw your pearls before pigs. You know what happens? Lest they trample them underfoot and turn and attack you. Oh, I desired to kill Yusuf so many times. I said in my heart, I hated him. I wanted to kill him. Matter of fact, I didn't care nothing about him. You know what? How do you know they didn't care nothing about him? Because there's a reason why. There's a reason why. Because there's a reason. Right, go to Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. We talked about it last week, but I'm going to do it again. You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt, Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. You are the salt of the earth. But the salt had lost its taste, how shall its saltness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown and trampled under people's feet. You don't care about it. They don't care about you. You know, when you get your soul is blinded with hatred. You don't care about nobody. I hated him. I hated Yusuf in my heart. I hated the fact that he would prosper. I hated anything he did, anything he spoke. I didn't want to see him or speak to him. And that's what happens. You know why? This is going back to Luke 12 and 1. Or yeah, Luke 12 and 1. Luke 12 and 1. In the meantime, when so many thousands of people had gathered together that they were trampling one another, they don't care. That's what happens. Beware the leaven of the Pharisees, right? Going back to the Testament of God. Testament of Gad, chapter 1, verse 13. Actually, going to verse 15. Testament of Gad 1:15. And now, my children, hearken to the words of truth, to work righteousness in all the law of Elohim, the Most High, and go not astray through the ruach of hatred, for it is evil in all the doings of men and women. He said, it's evil. Whatsoever a man or woman doeth, the hater abomineth it. Him or her. And though a man or woman worketh the law of Yahuwah, toward Yahuwah, he praiseth them not. Though a man feareth Yahuwah and taketh pleasure in that which is righteous, he loveth him not. Right? There's a reason why. Going over to verse 23. That's all we want. For as love would quicken even the dead, and would call them back that are condemned to die. That's what love does. You know how people say, it's impossible, right? For one to be once enlightened to taste of the Chamy'shy Chdsh, right? She said, I want to condemn you to death. Yeah, what? You know why people, you know why they put that in there? But they knew you were going to misinterpret that. They know you're going to missay that. And then you know what happens after that? So you'll never get that hatred out of your heart. Your soul is blinded by hatred. That's the only reason they put that in there. That's the only reason they did it. For the ruach of hatred works together with Satan all. Right, going to verse 23, I'm sorry. For as love would quicken even the dead, Yahushua rose people from the dead. It would call them back that are condemned to die. Everybody, he said, Romans 1, the last couple of verses of Romans chapter 1, he said these people should deserve to die. So hatred would slay the living. And those that had sinned vehemently, it will not suffer them to live. He said, I didn't mean to do it. You got that hatred in your heart, it doesn't matter. Verse 24, for the ruach of hatred works together with Satan, Mastam, Osabi, Aktaf, Aktum, Aydah, right? He worked together with a whole bunch of other beings. He worked together with Succubus and Incubus, right? That's what they do. The ruach of hatred works together with Satan through hastiness of ruach in all things to men's death. But the ruach of love working together with the Turah of Elohim and long suffering unto the salvation of men and women. Long suffering. Hatred therefore is evil, for it constantly mated with lying, speaking against the truth, and making small things great. One thing, a little situation, and they'll turn it into a 15, 20 year, 7-year slander gossip fest. Then it turns into, from slander gossip, then it turns into covetousness. Then it turns from covetousness to I want to kill you. That's what it turns into. It mutated. He say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He say mutants, ninjas. You know how they say ninja turtles. Hatred therefore is evil, for it constantly made it with lying, speaking against the truth, and it makes small things great, and it causes the light to be darkness, and calleth the sweet bitter, and teaches slander. That's what it do. It teach you that. Because once you get hatred, you gotta slander. You gotta lie. There's no way in the world you're gonna be able to go through this and not lie and slander when you got hatred in your heart. You know what it does? And kindle the wrath. Oh, you're gonna stir up some wrath in somebody. I assure you, you slander and gossip about somebody and they hear about it, I assure you, they're going to be wrath. They're going to be some, and who are going to be wrathful, and they're going to be upset. Understand that. And then you know what people do after that? They go to Bereshit chapter what? Where you go? Bereshit chapter what? Chapter 3. You're like, why are you wrath, Cain? I'm like, hold up. Why are you wrath? Why are you wroth, Cain? Hold up, you just slandered and gossip about a man and said things about a person. What are you talking about? You can't go there. That's what they do. People use this, handling the divorce deceitfully, right? People can do this. He said, we know that. We see it all throughout the Torah, people using that. And they use it to frame Yahusha. Shoot, Isabel, how you say, forged documents. And it says right here, telling small things great and causes the light to be darkness and calls the sweet bitter and teaches slander and kindling of wrath and stirred up war and violence and all covetousness. It filleth the heart with evils and devilish poison. He said you're an adder. It filleth your heart with it. Just like we talked about you gathering in malice. It fill your heart with poison. You know when your heart is filled with poison? He said, I hated Yusuf from the heart. And you know what happens if you hate somebody from the heart? I wanted to kill him. What does a snake do when they want to bite you? It opens its fangs out and it bites you and inject all that poison that's in their heart. I got all this poison in my heart. He said, I got all this poison in my heart and I want to inject it. I want to bite Yusuf and inject him with all that venom and kill him. Verse 26, these things, therefore, I say to you from experience, my children, from experience. So these are all experiences in life. That ye may drive out forth hatred, which is of Satan, the devil, and cleave to love of Elohim. Righteousness cast out hatred, and humility, Anah, Shafal, destroys envy. It does. For he that is just and humble is ashamed to do what is unjust, being reproved not of another. Not of another. But what happened? For his own heart, because Yahuwah looketh on his inclination. Right? That's like Qahalath. He said, so why we went all there? It's for a reason. Just like everything else, right? Right. So this is the book of Luke. This is the book of Luke. Luke, chapter 8, verse 11. Luke or Yah 8 and 11. Now the parable is this: the seed is the word of Yahuwah. Right. So we know the seed is the bar, and the one along the path are the ones who have heard, and then Satan comes and takes away the word from their hearts. He said, the Ruach and hatred work together with Satan. What do you think Satan gonna do to your mind when your soul is blinded by hatred? He gonna do what? The seed is the bar, and the one along the path are those who have heard. Then Satan comes and takes away the word from their hearts. And what do you think he gonna put in your heart after he takes the word out? He say venom, right? He turned into Cobra Commander. Now you go from a ruler to Cobra Commander. You know, like the serpent man. you turn into Cobra Commander. Now you done turned into another being. You put poison in your heart, you turn into a serpent, an adder, a nakash. He gonna make you into a reptilian. That's what he gonna turn you into. A snake man. What else he gonna turn you into? Because the Ruach of love works together with the Torah. But hatred is devilish poison. And guess what? It says the seed of the word, the ones along the path are those who have heard, and then Satan, the devilish poison, comes and takes away the bar from their hearts, so that they may not believe and be saved. That's the whole point. And the one on the rock are those who, when they heard the word, received it with joy. But these had no root. They believed for a while, and the time of testing, they fall away. How you say? They be like Gad. I want to see if you actually believe this thing. Do you have any care for animals anymore? And get what it says. And it says, as for those who fell among thorns, they are those who hear, but as they go on their way, they are choked by the cares and riches and the pleasures of life, and their fruit does not mature. Right? People saying, why do people don't mature? Right? There's a reason why. Because it's all a part of it. It's all a part of it. There's a reason why people don't mature. It's not that difficult. There's a reason why people are immature, right? They say they're immature. I will never lie again. You know what they say? Ephesians chapter 4, verse 9. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 9. He ascended. He says, in saying he ascended, what does it mean that? But also he descended into the lower regions of the earth. He who descended is the one who also ascended from above all Shamayim, that he might fill all things. And he gave the Shalakim and the Nabi'im and the evangelists and the shepherds and the teachers to equip the saints to the work of the ministry for building of the body of Mashiach, until we all attain the unity of Amunah and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, to mature manhood. So how are you going to reach maturity? The cares of this life and the deceitfulness of riches choked the bar out of people, and that's why nobody's mature today. This is the reason. To measure the stature of the fullness of Mashiach. That's why you'll never reach it. Tossed to and fro by the waves and carried about by every wind of doctrine, by human cunning, by craftiness and deceitful schemes. That's all it is. It's deceitful schemes. That's all it is, right? That's all it is. Why? So why we go there? Because you know what happens when Satan takes out the word out of your heart? It's a reason why he says that, right? There's a reason why it's done that way, right? So this is the book of Psalms. This is the book of Psalms. Yeah, Psalms. Yeah, book of Psalms, chapter 7, verse 1. Book of Tehillim 71. O Yahuwah Ma'alahim, in you do I take refuge. Save me from my pursuers and deliver me, lest like a lion they tear my soul apart. He said, man, they're going to tear me apart. You know what happened to the lamb when they took the bear out of his mouth? When they got out of the bear's mouth? They tore that lamb apart. He said, they're going to tear me apart. Rending it in pieces with none to deliver. He said, man, do you know what these people are going to do? These pursuers, these people keep pursuing me. They keep pursuing me everywhere I go. He said, they follow me everywhere I go. They're looking at everything I'm doing. They keep pursuing me. They won't stop. They're trying to rip me apart. You may not think they are. They're trying to tear me apart. You know why they're trying to tear me apart? Lest like a lion, they tear me apart and be none delivered. Oh, Yahuwah Ma'alahim, if I have done this, if there is wrong in my hands, if I have repaid my friend with evil, he said, he that returned evil for good, evil went out of part of his house, her house. Or plundered my enemy without a cause. I didn't do that without cause. But if you did, let my enemy pursue my soul and overtake me, if that's the case. And let them trample my life to the ground. Because you know what? You know how they had to bring the Ark of the Covenant back to the city of the sun? They had to be lowly. And lay my glory in the dust. Arise, O Yahuwah, in your anger. Lift up yourself up against the fury of my enemies. That's how you know enemies. Awake for me, you appointed a judgment. Here we go, skipping over. Going to verse 13. Verse 12. Psalm 7 and 12. If a man or woman does not repent, Elohim will whet his sword. He has bent and raided his bow. That's what happens when you don't repent. He has prepared for him his deadly weapons, making arrows and fiery shafts. Behold, the wicked man conceives evil and is pregnant with mischief. How you get pregnant with mischief? The seed is the bar. But when Satan come out and take the seed out of you, what seed you think you getting impregnated with? because the seed is the bar. He said, some people hear it, and Satan immediately comes and takes out their mind. The devilish poison, they replace it with devilish poison. Behold, the wicked man or woman conceives evil. It conceives the ruach of hatred. And is pregnant with mischief. And what happens at that? And give birth to lies. They do what? He said they give birth to lies. He said you give birth to lies. Because the seed is the bar, just like a woman takes in seed. And then she has a child. And then that child gives birth, it comes out of her feet. But guess what comes out? He said, you give birth to lies. He said, you know why you give birth to lies? He said, why would you give birth to a lie? Verse 15, he makes a pit, digging it out, and falls into the hole like he has made. Why? Who does that? You ever seen a snake that digs a hole, and it's like a hole in the ground, and they bury themselves? You ever seen a python? They got them by the Everglades. You ever go fishing by the Everglades? You ever go by the Everglades and walk along there? I wouldn't recommend, but they got pythons all on the shoreline. And they dig holes on the shoreline, like, and they got big holes down there on the side. You can look down and you look by the shore, you'll see them. They overrun with them, right? It's over there. But at the same time, and it says, it's verse 16. His mischief returns upon his own head. Why? What did he tell the woman? He said, you're going to bruise his head, he's going to bruise your head. Yeah, mischief going to return on his own head. What do you think going to happen? And on his own skull, his violence descends. He said, on your own skull, he's going to beat you over the head. Because it's a plot and a scheme. Because that's the whole point. That's what snakes do. That's when you give birth to lies, right? But that's what happens to your inner man. This is the book of Job, Ehud, chapter 15. Job, Ehud, chapter 15, and verse 31. Ehud, chapter 15, verse 31. Actually, going to 15 and 30. He will not depart from darkness, going up to... He will not depart from darkness. The flame will dry up his roots, right? Because you know what happens? We'll be in the sun right now. If you go outside in the sun right now, it's hot. And you look at some of the plants, some of them are withered, right? And you know how it happens? He says, have no works, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but it said, expose them. Why? So they can depart from darkness. But it says, he will not depart from darkness. The flame will dry up his roots. By the breath of his or her mouth, he will depart. Let him not trust in emptiness, deceiving himself. Because you're dark on the inside. You ain't got no light on the inside. So therefore you trusting it in the devilish poison and emptiness, because Satan took the seed out of your mind. And then you start to trust in what he says. And then what happens? You start to trust in emptiness, in darkness, deceiving yourself. And you know what happens after that? For emptiness will be his payment, because that's what happens. What is payment? We talked about fruitfulness. It's going to be your payment, because the wages of sin is death. That's going to be your payment. That's going to be your fruit. Verse 32, it will be paid in full before his time. He said, man, you're going to get paid in full. He says, remember he said, don't be overly wicked lest you die before your time. Don't be overly empty. He said, darkness, right? And his branch will not be green. And he said, green to blue. He said, your branch ain't going to be green. He will shake off his unripe grapes like the vine and cast off his blossoms like the olive tree. He said, man, guess what happens? For the company of the godless is barren. They ain't got no fruit. Oh, you mean they ain't got no child? Well, so they ain't got no child of light on the inside that's getting ready to give birth to light. What type of child are they getting ready to give birth to when they're darkness? Because Satan took the bar out of it, the seed out of their mouth. Let's see. So for the company of the godless is barren. and fire consumes the tents of bribery. They conceive trouble and give birth to evil. I told you get rid of the feminine nature, you get rid of all this. You ain't no way you can understand this. You say, what? You get rid of the feminine nature, you get rid of all this. There's no way in the world you can understand both this. He said both male and female. You need both male and female to understand this. They conceive trouble and give birth to lies. He said, you know what happens after that? You give birth to lies. And their womb prepares deceit. That's what happens when Satan takes the bar out of your mind and replaces it with his devilish poison. It'd be like Testament of God. He's like, man, I wanted to kill him so many times, you have no idea. I wanted to take him down. He said he gave birth to what? He said you prepare deceit. You know what the ruach of deceit is. Right? But here we go. And you know the sad part about this, even though you say it, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't even say it. Right, going to book. This is Ruth. This is Ruth, chapter 4, verse 13. Ruth, chapter 4, verse 13. Ruth, chapter 4, verse 13. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And he went into her, and Yahuwah gave her conception, and she bore a son. And you know, the seed is the bar. But it's just showing you a birth, right? Then the woman said to Naomi, Barak be Yahuwah, who has not left you this day without a redeemer. And you know what happens when you left without a redeemer? He said, you give birth to lies. Your womb stores up the seed. It says, who has left you without a redeemer, and may his name be renowned in Yasharah. He said, let his name be renowned. He shall be to you a restorer of life and a nourisher of your old age. He's going to nourish your whole old age. He says, so who is he talking about? And you see why, he said, why you need to give birth to a specific type of child. Or you want to give birth to lies, or you want to give birth to truth. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. And he shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Shalom. But guess what happens? He shall be the restorer of life and the nourisher of your old age. How are you going to get nourishment in your old age? He said, train up a child in the way he should go. When he is old, he will not depart. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you, who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. She what? Your daughter-in-law, who loves you, is more who is more to you than 7 sons, has given birth to him. That one child. That one child. He said, it's better than 7 sons. Then Naomi took the child and laid him on her lap and became his nurse. And you know what happens to that? And the women of the neighborhood gave him a name. He said, all the women came. When they heard about him, they gave him a name. And what he said, saying, a son has been born to Naomi. And they named him Obed. You know what happened? He was the father of Yeshai. He was what? He was the father of Yeshai. Of Jesse. Yeah, a woman who was not of Yasharal married a man of Yasharal. And you know what happened? Gave birth to Yeshai, the father of Yeshai. Because a child is born into this world for a reason. You know what happened? He was the father of Yeshai, the father of David. But if you give birth to lies, and your womb harbors the seed, is this Redeemer being conceived inside of you? Right? That's the whole point. Because there's a reason why. there is a reason why. Right, this is the book of Matthew. Look at you. This is the book of John. This is the book of John, chapter 6, and verse 52. You looking down chapter 6, verse 52. John chapter 6, verse 52. The Yahudim disputed among themselves, saying, how can this man give us flesh to eat? So Yahushua said to him, truly, truly, I said to you, unless you eat my flesh of the son of Adam, son of man, and drink my blood, you have no life in you. You ain't got no redeemer. You ain't got no redeemer. So when they killed that lamb that was in the bear's mouth, that they could not save, what do you think they were eating? He said, behold, the Lamb of Yahuwah will take away the sin of the world. He said, man, you just devoured, you killed that lamb. Matter of fact, you just slew that lamb. And you know what? He said, I want to go tell my father what y'all did. And I hated Yusuf for that, for saying that we killed the lamb. I hated him for saying, he's saying we killed the son of Yahuwah. That's what you did. You killed the son of Yahuwah. You killed the lamb. But it said right here, whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up on the last day. What do you think he was trying to give them? What do you think Testament of Gad was really saying about what Yusuf told on their father about what they did? The very land that they ate, the very things that they consumed was the very thing that gave them eternal life. Had they known it. But it says, and I will raise him up in the last day, for my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I in him. And as the living Father has sent me, I live because of the Father. Whosoever feeds on me, he also will live because of me. You know what happened after that? This is the bread that came down from Chamy'shy. He said, I thought we were talking about a lamb. I thought we were talking about eating some flesh and drinking some blood. I thought we were talking about eating some animal flesh. No, he said, I am the food, the lakam that came down from Chamy'shy. But this is the whole point. He said, but I in you and you in me. He said, me, I'm in you and you in me. Because that's the whole point. Right? So this is the book of So this is the book of So this is the book of Revelations, Hazun. Revelations chapter 12, verse 4. Revelation chapter 12 and verse 4. Hazun chapter 12, verse 4. His tail swept down a third of the stars of Chamy'shy and cast them upon the earth. And the dragon, the Leviathan, the dragon, stood before the woman who was about to give birth. So you telling me, when Satan takes the bar out of your mind, take the seed out of your mind, and he replaced it with his devilish poison, you're going to be like the Testament of Gad. He was like, man, I wanted to kill Yusuf. I wanted to kill him. When the Ruach of hatred took over, it made it with a lion working together with Satan, with slander, envy. Bro, I wanted to kill him. Let's see what happened. It says, and the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore the child, that he might devour it. Isn't it what they did to the lamb? They wanted to eat it. They wanted to devour it. You know what happened? She gave birth to a male child. He said, man, you're a redeemer. She like Ruth. Man, you're more valuable than 7 sons. That child you got more valuable than 7 sons. It says, one who is to rule all nations with the rod of iron. He's like, man, you know what type of child you gave birth to? He said, Obed, the father of Yeshai, the father of Dawid. You know why he said they're not going to be a fellow man to sit on the throne of Yehuda? in Jerusalem? Because it's evident that our master Yahusha sprung out of Yehuda, the high priest who will sit on the throne of David. But it says right here, she gave birth to a male child, one who is to rule all nations with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up to Elohim and to his throne. Why stand here gazing up in the Shamayim for this same Yahusha whom you seen go up and descend into the Abraku? Guess what? He's going to come back in like manner. He coming back the same way. And guess what? And the woman fled into the wilderness. He said, man, I got to get up out of here. You know, Satan, you know what happened when you with Yahusha? He said, you my friends, you do whatsoever I command you. Where she had a place prepared by Elohim in which she is to be nourished. 1,260 days. He said, she's going to be nourished. Nourished with what? We just read it. He said, these words I speak unto you, they are ruach and they are life. I am the bread which came down from Shamayim. Right, so this, and you say, so why is he doing all of this? So this is the book of, because you don't want to give birth to lives. You definitely don't want to give birth to Satan's reptile. He said red snake child. Right? That's the whole point. Because you don't want to do that. Right, so this is the book of Yeshayahu, Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 1. Isaiah chapter 59 verse 1. Behold, Yahuwah's hand is not shortened that it cannot save, or his ear dull that he cannot hear. He can hear every single thing on earth, every animal, every creature, every prayer, everything in the cosmos, all the way to the surface of the earth. But your iniquities have made a separation between you and your Elohim, and your sins have hidden his face from you, so that he does not hear. He said, I don't even hear what you're saying. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies. He said, you give birth to lies. Your tongues mutter wickedness. He said, you mutter wickedness. That's what happens when the bar is taken out of your heart and your mind, and it's replaced with devilish poisons. You know what happens after that? It kindles wrath. It creates slander. These are all things you say out of your mouth. It creates gossip. It creates hatred. You want to kill people. Those who condemn to death, you want them to just die. I hope he died. That's what we talked about last week. You want, I hope he died. That's what you got. You got a ruach of hatred on the inside of you. It blinded your soul. Verse 4 says, no one enters suit justly. Man, you ain't even going to court, right? I'm finna go to court with ruach of hatred blinding my soul. You know what type of judgment you're going to get. Man, your judgment is going to be, ooh, ain't going to be nothing just for you. No one enters suit justly. No one goes to law honestly. Nobody got it. You got the Torah in your mouth. It's like they bring up them false witness against Yahusha. You're going to be using the Torah. You're going to be handling that at the bar. You're going to be going to all different verses to justify yourself. They ain't even talking about you. But you're going to be like, man, I got the wisdom of a Malachi. You're going to be doing all evil. And guess what? Satan's going to be moving you along with the bar, and you're going to be like thinking you righteous. And guess what? They reply, empty pleas. There we go. He said, emptiness blinded your soul. Darkness have blinded you. He said, he said, they won't depart from darkness. They give birth to lies. They give birth to deceit. They speak lies. They conceive mischief and give birth to iniquity. He said, though you gather in that malice, he said, you gather in malice like iniquity. It's just like iniquity. You know what happens after that? Verse 5, they hatch adder's eggs. He said, man, you're a snake python on the shoreline. You're a reptilian shape-shifting devil. See, that's what he called it. Female serpent being. You like species. The female serpent species woman that go around sleeping with all the men. It's like where that woman sleep with 1,000 men at one time. But she ain't nothing but the being from species. You just don't know it. But she a reptilian shapeshifter. You know what people do? I'm lining up. You know what happens? You just like the men of Sodom and Gomorrah who raped that woman. Raped them 2 daughters all night. I'm lining up 1,000 men. You just like the men of Sodom and Gomorrah. And the woman is just like the woman is just like the woman that was thrown out by the fake Levite in the book of Judges, and they slept with her all night, the Benjamin. He said, you borderline gay. How you say you borderline at the door? Men with men, you might as well do the orgy. Right? All that's a part of this whole construct of these reptilian snakes, and Satan takes the word, the bar out of your mind, and then he fills it with his own poison. And then what you do? They hatch adder eggs. They weave the spider's web. Why do you think the World Wide Web is the way it is? They weave the web right around you, and they entrap you in it. Notice the spiders don't get trapped in their own web. The spider that created the web don't get trapped in it. It's only there to get you trapped in it. But the spider just looking back, waiting for you to get trapped. And then they come and bite you, and then it weaves the web around you. You can't escape. He who eats their eggs dies. He said, you eat their eggs, you're going to die. You know what happens when you eat adder eggs? He said, I ain't going to eat a snake egg. You know people eat snakes? They weave that snake meat over in other countries, man. They put it as a vegan burger. They put snake meat as a vegan burger now. They make it look like it's man, they make it look like a beef, right? Like they say. They put it in there and they put, egg sandwich. Give you an egg sandwich and give you a snake burger, a snake omelet. Right, you gotta watch everybody, right? And it says, and he who eats their eggs dies, and from one that is crushed, a viper is hatched. That's what happens. You eat it. You know, Yahushua said, if you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have life in you. But you eat this adder egg, you start eating from Satan, and guess what happens? You're gonna get poisoned. You're gonna die. You're gonna create death and sin, because the wages of sin is death. You're gonna breathe out lies and deceit. And then what happened? And from one that is crushed, a viper is hatched. And you're gonna be hatching other snakes. Verse 6 says, their webs will not serve as clothing. He said, your web ain't gonna serve as your clothing. Men will not cover themselves with what they make. Their works are works of iniquity, and their deeds of violence are in their hands. It says in their hands. Their feet run to evil. These 6 things you will hate, 7 are abomination. And they are swift to shed innocent blood. These 6 things you will hate, 7 are abomination. Because Satan took the bar out of your mind. And he replaced it with his devilish poison. And his poison will destroy your life, your family, your husband, your wife, your children, your community, your finances. Matter of fact, it destroy every relationship you got. Right? And even other people's relationships you jealous and envious over. And the Ruach of hatred just make you hate them too. And guess what it says? And they run to evil, and they are swift to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity. Their makashba, yet said their imaginations are thoughts of iniquity. Desolation and destruction is in their highway. You know what happens? That's all they think about. I'm gonna destroy you. He's sicking on his deathbed. I hope he died. They're hoping that. But Yahuwah's mercies endure renews every single morning. Verse 8 says, the way of peace they do not know. Of course they don't know this. They don't know. They're not a peacemaker, shalom maker. And there is no justice in their paths. They have made their roads crooked. No one treads on them knows peace. Therefore justice is far from them, and righteousness do not overtake us. We hope for light, and behold darkness, and brightness, but we walk in gloom. That's what happens. Right? That's what happens, right? That's what happens. That's what happens, right? This is what happens, right? So this is the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 26. Yeshayahu, Isaiah 26. Isaiah 26 and 16. Isaiah 26 and 16. O Yahuwah, in distress they sought you. They poured out and whispered prayer when your discipline was upon them. And we talked about going to your closet. He said, remember, a poor man here earnest prayer. Nakatum, right? He said, what? In his earnest prayer, though even a rich man would answer harshly. He said, you seeking Yahuwah in your closet, right? Oh, Yahuwah, in distress they sought you. They poured out whispered prayer when your discipline was upon them. Like a pregnant woman who reads and cries out in pains when she is near giving birth. So were we because of you. Huh? Because of who? Because of you, O Yahuwah. What happens when the seed is the debar? And then you get pregnant with a child. And then when the child is time for it to get birth, you're gonna get in pains. You're gonna be in discipline. You're gonna be in times where you're gonna have to be in earnest prayer. Why? Because you're getting ready to give birth to a child. And that's the same thing what happens when people get ready to give birth to lies and deceit. You say, I got Satan's child on the inside of me. Some people got Satan's child on the inside of them. And then they go into punishments and things in this life. You can see it today. And then they give birth to children of destruction. And then you get pregnant with the seed of Yahuwah and his son Yahusha. And then you know the person you're going to give birth to is going to bear fruit and have a well of water springing up the everlasting life. And that's giving birth on the inside of you. So you're going to have to go through pains of birth too. But you're going to know when you got the Yahuwah's child on the inside of you? Because as soon as you get ready to give birth and you get ready to go through the transformation, here they come with their mouth, with their doubt, with the things they got to say to try to stop you from giving birth. They want to devour your child. They want to devour your creation that's getting ready to come out of you. It doesn't matter what it is. Because you remember he said he hated Yahusha. No matter what he did. I didn't want to hear his face. I didn't want to see what he did. Anytime he prophesied, that was an abomination to me. That's what happens. Verse 17. Like a pregnant woman who reads and cries out in her pains when she is near giving birth. So were we because of you, O Yahuwah. You know how women say, this is all because of you when they get pregnant. They do say this. It's your fault. They do say this. I know they say, this is all you. Right? You know how they say? That's the same thing that happened. That's what you say. It's like, man, you deceived me. That's what happens. So were we because of you, O Yahuwah. We were pregnant, we wreathed, but we have given birth to the wind. He's like, man, look at this. You're giving birth to the wind. What are we going through all this for? We have accomplished no deliverance in the earth, and the inhabitants of the world have not fallen. Your dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. You who dwell in the dust, awake and sing for joy. He said, we in pain and birth and sackcloth and ashes. We getting ready to give birth, man. This is crazy, right? But at the same time, it's all a part of it. It's all a part of the birthing process. For your dew is the dew of light, and the earth will give birth to the dead. Verse 20 says, come, my people, enter your chambers and shut the doors behind you. Why? You're in labor. He's like, man, close the door. Right? You're in pain, right? You're getting ready to give birth. Crying out, screaming, right? You know what happens after that? Hide yourselves for a little while until the fury has passed by. Why do you think he sent Satan? He said, they had a place prepared in the wilderness because Satan was coming to get the child. Satan coming to kill the child on the inside of you, and then he had a place prepared for 1,260 days prepare for them so they can be nourished. Why? Because a woman has to eat when she has a child. Right, because these are all a part of it. And what she has to eat is the bar. Well, her food is the lakam that come down from Chamy'shy. That's why bread was so important. People think bread was really important. But it says, "Come, O my people, into your chambers and shut the doors behind you and hide yourselves for a while." That's the place you got prepared to be nourished for a time. Until the fury has passed by. That's the place where you got prepared for 1,260 days for a time. Until the fury has passed, until Satan is passed. Go what did Yahushua had to do? He had to flee to another city and he had to be nourished for a time. Until Herod stopped to seek his life. And that's what you got to do when people start seeking your life, when people start trying to destroy you, when people start to do things to you, when you see all these things getting ready to go through a transformation, a birthing process in your life, you got to hide yourself. These people trying to take me out. And if I keep trying to strive with them, they're going to kill me. And get what it says. "For behold, Yahuwah is coming out from his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity." He's like, man, look at him. You gonna mess with my child, my pregnant woman? That ain't gonna be good for you. You know why they got iniquity? Because Satan took the bar out of their mind, and now on the inside, they got his seed, his deceit, his slander, his gossip. They got his ruach of hatred. They hate every single thing that a righteous person does, and they want to destroy even the child that comes out of your womb. And that's literally in ruach. That's why when they come out, Satan be right there with his fangs. He be right there with his fangs waiting. You don't even know it. And you know a sad part about it? People let Satan bite the child when they come out. You know why they let the child, you know why you let them bite their child and inject them when they come out? You don't know why? Can a mother forget her sucking child? That's why you let them do it. You trample on each other. Nobody cares about each other. That's why you let them do it. You don't even know the child. You have a righteous child inside. The last thing you need to do is just give birth to the child. Let Satan inject him with his poison. I say you call your children to pass through the fire. You gave them over to Molech. You gave him right to Satan and you don't even know it. But Yahuwah want righteous seed. Isn't that the reason for two righteous people coming to Yahuwah? I want righteous children, right? But then you have righteous children, and then what do? Before a seed can get in their mind, Satan already injected with a seed already. Verse 21, "For behold, he is coming out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity, and the earth will disclose the blood shed on it, while all the children that died." From Satan's poison. As soon as the child get ready to be born, just understand, when a woman is in labor, she getting ready to give birth to a child, a righteous child, who gonna do something, or you know what happens? Here comes Satan. He ready right there. You said, man, how come people go through? You said, man, this 9 months is crazy. Exactly. He said, this 9 months was crazy. You know why I was going like that? Because Satan, he was not wanting anything to happen for you in your life. That's the only reason. And the earth will disclose the blood shed on it, and will no more cover its slain. Why? Because you're getting ready to give birth. When you will get children, you're ready to give birth, you already know what's getting ready to happen. Because that's a whole bunch of things getting ready to happen, right? But there's a reason why. You're going to Ode Shalom, actually going to Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, Pseudepigrapha, Volume 1, First Enoch. First Enoch. Right, this is First Enoch, chapter, Pseudepigrapha, First Enoch, chapter 90. ChayParach, Volume 1, Chapter 90, verse 30, 1 and 30. Then I saw all the sheep that had survived, as well as all the animals upon the earth, and the birds of Chamy'shy falling down and worshiping those sheep, making petition to them and obeying them in every respect. Thereafter, those three who were wearing snow-white clothes, the former ones who had caused me to go up, grabbed me by the hand, also the hand of the ram holding me. And I ascended, and they set me down in the midst of those sheep prior to the occurrence of this judgment. Those sheep were all snow white. And their wool considerable and clean. All those which had been destroyed and dispersed, and all the beasts of the field and the birds of the sky were gathered together in that house. And Yahuwah, the master of the sheep, rejoiced with great joy because they had all become gentle. Because they all had become Aydah. They all became Shabath and Untill. They all became Qahalath, gentle. For what? They all became what? Gentle and returned to his house. They all became gentle and returned to his house. You know what happened? And I went on seeing until they had laid down the sword which was given to the sheep. And they returned into the house and sealed it in the presence of Yahuwah. And all the sheep were invited to that house, that it could not contain them all. He's like, man, look here. They were all invited. And guess what happened? The eyes of all of them were opened. They, in their soul, you know, I talk about Testament of Gad, their souls were not blinded by hatred. They were all gentle. They were all gentle. They were all Aydah. They were all Aydah. They were different. And he said, man, it couldn't even contain them. There's going to be so many, you don't even know. And guess what happened? And all their eyes were open. Their eyes were open. And they saw the beautiful things. Can you see the beautiful things? And guess what happens? Not a single one existed among them that could not see. And you know what happened after that? And I noticed that the house was large, wide, and exceedingly full. He said they were all what? It was so many, right? And people say, what happened? What does he mean by this, right? He said, why? Why would he say, why would all this work? Right? If you say, why is Yahushua Mashiach so important? Why is Yahuwah's son so important? Right? Because it's important. It's important. All right, going to the book of Yahuchanan, chapter 10, in verse 25. Yahuchanan, John 10:25. Yahushua answered them, I told you and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name bear witness about me. He said, it bear witness about me, but you do not believe because you are not among my sheep. You know what he said? He said, you're not among my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. They do what? My sheep hear my voice. And I know them. You know where they're going to hear his voice at? He said, oh, my people, show close the door. Matter of fact, he didn't say close the door. He said, until the trouble has passed. Because you know, they ain't gentle. You already know. They ain't meek and lowly, you already know. And if they faking meek and lowly, you know what's going to happen to you. It's like Cain. You know how Cain faked meek and lowly? Cain faked that meek and lowly. He had the ruach of hatred on the inside. He faked that meek and lowly with Abel. And he faked, brother, we have never been together, man. We should go out and, and he waited for nobody was around. And he slew his brother with that fake meek and lowly and kindness, right? And he killed him. Because he had a ruach of hatred. He desired to slay his brother Abel. Matter My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And when you follow him, and he ain't faking it. And you know what happens? He ain't gonna kill you. I give them eternal life. He said, man, I make them gentle, and it be so many of them. They ain't not one of them ain't gonna be able to see. Everybody gonna be able to see. And they will never perish. He said, I ain't gonna be killing no lamb. When I take it out of the bear's mouth, I'm gonna make sure I save it. Guess what happened? And no one will snatch them out of my hand. He's like, man, ain't nobody gonna snatch them out of my hand. Even if you save one from a lion and a bear. And then you look at it and you want to eat it, Yahushua gonna step in the middle and be like, you ain't eating my lamb. You ain't eating my sheep. You know what he said? And guess what? And no one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all. Why do you think Yahushua went to go tell his father what his brothers did? And Gad said, man, I hate him in my heart. Boy, I hate him for doing that. He exposed us. I hate him. He said a lion bit him and a bear. And then we you know what we did? He went through all that adversity. That lamb went through all that adversity. A bear had bit him and had him in his mouth. We took him out, and then we ate the lamb after we rescued him. And we killed it. And it perished. But not Yahushua ain't gonna do that. And you know what happened after that? And he snatched them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all. And no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one. Why do you think he went to go tell his father everything they did? He said, everything the Son, Yusuf told the Father, he believed everything he did. And I hated Yusuf for that. I hated him in my heart, right? The Yahoo picked up stones again to stone him. And Yahushua answered them, I have shown you many good works from my Father. But which of them are you going to stone me? I hated Yusuf in my heart. He said, I want to stone it. They want to stone people today. He'd be like this, I have shown you many good works of my Father. Which of them are you going to stone me? He's like, what you going to stone me for? The Yahudi answered it is not for a good work that we are going to stone you, but for blasphemy, because you, being a man, make yourself Allahim. Yahushua answered them, is it not written in your Torah, I said you were God, Allahim? And if I called them Allahim, whom the word of Yahuwah came, the scripture cannot be broken. So why he said that? He says, I'm trying to tell you, people saying, oh, this is not something that people don't want to do. Right? This is Psalms 82 and 1. Yahuwah has taken his place in the divine council. In the midst of the Allahims, he holds judgment. So if you ain't even being judged properly if you ain't no Allahim. I don't even believe I'm an Allahim. He said, okay. How long will you judge unjustly? Because you ain't no justice with the people who practice deceit and lies. You go to court with the wrong Ruach and hatred. You're gonna be skilled in hatred. But you're gonna be so skilled that you be like, man, how I get so skilled? You have no idea of how skillful you can get. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? But you're gonna be showing partiality to the wicked, and you're gonna want to kill the righteous. Ooh, I want to kill him, but the wicked you're gonna show partiality because you love him. You're gonna give him all the different paperwork. You're gonna forge the documents. Right? You're gonna accept the bribe, the money, 5, 10 million. Right? You're gonna do all types of stuff. The beautiful woman you were with before, who's supposed to condemn the person that you're actually trying to convict. Right? You're gonna do everything you possibly can to kill that person. Show partiality to the wicked. Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. He said, give justice to them. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. He said, maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy and deliver them from the hand of the wicked. What did they do to the lamb that was caught into the bear's mouth? What did they do? They killed the lamb. After they said, we couldn't save it. Who should not one of them gonna perish out of my hand. Ain't nobody gonna snatch him out of my hand. He said, rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hands of the wicked. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. He said, you people don't know. He said, you don't understand this. They walk about in darkness. It blinded their soul. He said, I look for light. I got darkness and emptiness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said you are Elohim, sons of the Most High, all of you. I said that. You were like, I said that. Nevertheless, like men, you shall fall like any other prince. There's a reason why we're going here, right? There's a reason why we're going here, right? There's a reason why. Right, so this is the book of 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, Aleph Shamuel 17:31. And when the Aleph Shamuel 17:31. And when the words of Dawid were heard, they repeated them to Shaul, and he sent for him. And Dawid said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go fight with this Philistine. And Shaul said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are nothing but a youth. But he has been a man of war for him in his youth. But he said he's been doing this since the time he's been born until now. You just started. You ain't never did this before. You know how you say you ain't never had a skill set. You never did these things before. I never fought a Philistine before. I never fought in wars, or I never rode no tank. I ain't never did none of this stuff. He said, I never once swim 10 miles, or all this stuff that people think. Yahuwah will give you skill in that second. He's like, I ain't never did. He said, I'm gonna go fight all these things. But Dawid said, your servant used to keep his father's sheep. You know what they did with Testament of God? They were keeping their father's sheep. Did they not? But what they do differently. And when there came a lion and a bear, didn't that lamb get caught in a bear's lamb? And took a lamb from the flock. He took that lamb, you know what they did? I went after him and struck him and delivered him out of his mouth. Then he ate him. No, he did not. He made sure that he took care of that lamb, and he made sure he saved that lamb. That's why Yusuf went to go tell his father. Man, they rescued the lamb out of the bear's mouth, but then they ate the lamb. And if he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him. He said, man, you ain't gonna snatch him out of my hand. That's how Yahushua is. Your servant have struck down both lions and bears. He said, so where you at? Where you live at? He said, what bears you got? What lions you killed? And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them. He has defied the armies of Yahshua. You know, this Philistine was a giant with a giant sword. He was a giant where lions and bears dwell at. But why we went here? This is the whole point. This is 1 Samuel chapter 30. I think that's it. 1 Samuel chapter 30. 1 Samuel chapter 30. Yeah. 1 Samuel chapter 30. Aleph Shamuel chapter 30 and verse 1. Now when Dawid and his men came to Ziklag on the third day, the Amalekites had made a raid against Negeb and against Ziklag. They had overcome Ziklag and burned it with fire, and taken captive the women and all who were in it, both small and great. And they killed no one, but carried them off and went their way. And when Dawid and his men came to the city, they found it burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters taken captive. Right? That's okay. That's what can happen today. It may not happen where you live in that, but it happens in other countries and things of this sort. Then Dawid and the people who were with him raised their voices and wept until they had no more strength to weep. And Dawid's two wives also were taken captive, and the minimum and Jezreel and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. Right, so you got Abigail just said she's gonna be a shika in the house of David. Now she ended up getting kidnapped. And Dawid was greatly distressed, for the people spoke of stoning him. You know what they want to do, Yahusha? They want to kill the man. He's like, for which good work you want to stone me for? For not a good work, for you being a man, making yourself Allahim. Isn't that what they did? Because all the people were bitter in soul. He's like, I want to kill you. Because everybody in bitter in soul, right? Because all the people were bitter of soul, each one for his sons and his daughters. But Dawid strengthened himself in Yahuwah, his Elohim. And Dawid said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Abimelech, bring me the ephod. So Abiathar brought the ephod to Dawid, and David inquired of Yahuwah, shall I pursue after this band, this army? You know, people just got kidnapped. The wives taken, the children taken, everything been taken from you. You know what you're supposed to do? Just immediately go and do it. You don't know. You don't know what's going on. You don't even know the situation. He said, shall I go up after this band? Shall I overtake them? He's like, should I go? You know how people inquire spirit channelers, sorcerers, card readers, right? Necromancers, remote viewers, spirit channelers. People do that today. But not even knowing that there's an Elohim greater than, that's above all these gods. That's what they are. They're gods. He inquiring of the one in the highest Chamy'shy. There's a difference. Shall I overtake them? He answered them, pursue, for you shall surely overtake them and shall surely rescue. So you think he's going to do it on his own? No, because when Yahuwah said he's going to overtake them, he's going to send his Malachi to help you. How is you going to do this? Yahuwah going to send his Malachi. So David sent out, and the 600 men who were with him, and they came to the brook of Besor, where those who were left behind stayed. But Dawid pursued, he and 400 men, right? So 200 stayed behind. But you know 400 plus 1 is what? 5. Behold, not revealed, right? But it said right here, and it's the 5th month. That's the 5th letter of the alphabet. 200 stayed behind, who were exhausted to cross the brook Kazor, who were too exhausted to cross the brook Kazor. It means they were running. You know how people say, I could run 5-10 miles, right? I could run, right? I could run. But when they got to the brook, they're like, man, I'm tired, man. You know how people say, when they get tired, when this really gets serious, people finna get tired. You know how you get bent down, you be like, man, I gotta cross the brook too? And I gotta go across the river? So you know these people ain't shape, boy. Boy, think about it. You done ran, and then now you done ran after them, because Yahuwah said you're gonna go get the battle. Even though Yahuwah said you're gonna go and overtake people, don't mean that everybody gonna even like, I'm finna run, we gonna run all the way there and then, you know, cross the water too. You're like, nah, man, we ain't doing that. That's too much. That's too much work. That's too much work right there. Right, so they didn't go. Right? Verse 11 says, and they found an Egyptian in the open country and brought him to Dawid. And they gave him bread and he ate. And they gave him water to drink. And they gave him a piece of cake of fig and 2 clusters of raisins. Because Yahushua said, you know what happened after that? And when he had eaten, his ruach revived. And what? And guess what? For he had not eaten bread or drunk water for 3 days and 3 nights. He said, man, he was weak, boy. 3 days and 3 nights. He said, I need some food. And David said to him, to whom do you belong? And where are you from? You know, people say, I ain't got to do good to nobody else. Only the people of Yasharah. You know, I ain't got to show kindness to those who are hungry and needy. Yahushua said, you done it to the least of them, you done it to me. You know what people say? They act like it. You know, righteousness has a boundary. Doing good to people has a boundary. That's a lie. He said, I am a young man of Mizraim, servant of Aydahchay. And my master left me behind because I fell sick 3 days ago. He's like, you see what happened? You know how people say they don't care about you? People trampling over you. They trample over one another. They just leave you behind because you fell sick. on my sick bed. He'll never rise again. Just leave him there. You know how people say? He'll never rise again. He'll never revive again. Just leave him there. That's what we read in the book of Psalms. They don't care. They got so much malice in their heart. And he said, Yahuwah, have mercy on me. Remember my affliction. And you know what David, he said, man, Dawid came around, and then he gave him some bread and some water, and his ruach revived him, and he rose up. And he was left for dead. That's what happens. That's what happens. And the people say, oh, that's not true. That's what people do. And guess what happened? It says, we have made a raid against the Negev and the Kerethites, and against which belongs to Yehuda, and against Negev and Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And Dawid said to him, will you take me down to this band? And he said, swear to me by Elohim that you will not kill me. Right, you gotta cut a deal. You know how people cut them presidential deals? You know all that stuff people do. He said, I'll give you some information, but first, we gotta cut a deal first before we get there. Right? Immunity. You know how they say? I want immunity. Before we get there now, immunity. Right? And he said, David said to him, will you take me down to this band? And he said to him, swear to me by Elohim that you will not kill me or deliver me into the hands of my master. I need witness protection program. You know how they say? I need some protection. Don't give me over. And I will take you down to the band. I'll do everything you say. Deal. And when he had taken them down, it was a deal. Behold, they were spread abroad over all the land. So now you see how Dawid was going to get the land. He asked Yahuwah, shall I go up? Shall I pursue? He said, yeah, you're going to overtake him. But look what he had to do to do it. He had the help of a person that was sick and left for dead that nobody cared about. He had to give him bread. He had to give him portion, and he had to revive his soul in order for him to even be able to get there. Because you ain't going to rescue things in your life. You ain't going to get anything back in your life until you do start doing these things in your life for other people. You're not going to get anything back. You got to start doing these things for other people in order for you to retrieve things. He said they missed that. And when he had taken him down, behold, they spread abroad over all the land, eating and drinking and dancing, because of the great spoil they had taken from that land of the Philistines and from the land of Yehuda. But they were dancing and singing. You know, when people steal from you, they be dancing and singing, and they were drinking and eating, right? Eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, dancing. You think that's all they were doing? Right, and it said right here, and David struck them down from twilight until evening, right? He got there behind. You know, this is when they come. When you drinking and dancing and eating, that's when Yahushua gonna come under. He said they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until Yahushua came, till the flood came and swept them all away. That's what gonna happen to you. He said, Mashiach be outraged. Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we die. What's the good of you? What's the good of your dancing and drinking and eating at your feast days? And you got a person that you left a man for dead on the side of the road, and he was sick, and you don't care nothing about him. What good is your feast day? And you're dancing, and then you robbed other people, you stole from other people, and you don't care about nobody. Then you took other people's wives. That's husbands are still alive. Woo! He said, man, y'all ain't nothing but Philistines. And then you want to have a feast day. And you want to dance and do all this stuff. And you stole other people's stuff. You covetous. And then you want to have a feast day, dancing and singing and doing all this stuff. What do you think them husbands thinking about? They're like, man, these people done stole my woman. They done stole. Yahushua like, man, you see, should we go up? Let them people pray. Shall we go up? Matter of fact, you start helping people. You start helping the poor, the people that are hungry and thirsty, left for dead. You start helping them up, reviving other people, and let them people get to your place with it. to get their stuff back. What you think gonna happen to you? In your feast days, in your muads, in your feast days. But it said right here, and Dawid struck them down from twilight until evening of the next day, and not a man of them escaped, except 400 young men who mounted camels and fled. He said, they got away. Them young men got away, but them old men, he said, you ain't got that much strength in you. See, that's how you know people, when people start coming to get things, he said, young men fled away. That means they still had a remnant of it. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had taken and rescued his 2 wives. He's like, I'm coming to get my wives, right? And I got all my stuff back. Nothing was missing. He said, I got everything back. Whether small or great, sons or daughters. Some people stole people's sons and daughters. Spoil or anything that had been taken. Dawid brought back all. Dawid also captured all the flocks and the herds, and the people drove the livestock before him and said, this is Dawid's spoil. He said he took everything. And David came to the 200 men who had been too exhausted to follow David. They were too exhausted. And who had been left at the brook of Besor. And they went out to meet Dawid and to meet the people who were with him. And when David came near to the people, he greeted them. Then all the wicked and worthless fellows, right, because you always got them among you. He said, the old man had many companions, right? You know what them worthless fellows did? Among the men who had gone with Dawid said, because they did not go with us, we will not give them any of the spoil that we have recovered, except that each man may lead away his wife and his children and depart. He said, we ain't give them none of that. We ain't give them none of that stuff we got. Because you know they selfish. They don't care about nobody. And they trample on everybody. They don't care about nobody. They don't care. Because they worthless, men and women. Because they don't care about nobody. But Dawid said, you shall not do so. My brothers, with what Yahuwah has given us. He said, don't you do it. When Yahuwah give you something, he said, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Just send them away. Wives and children, we ain't giving none of the spoil. Don't do it. My brothers. He says, he has preserved us and given into our hands the band that came against us. Who would listen to you in this matter? For as his share is who goes down into the battle, so his share be who stays by the baggage. Right? It's all the same. It says they all share alike. He said, man, everybody's the same. Everybody shares alike. Why? Because you know what happens? It distinguishes the ruach of hatred. Because you know what happens? When you send away all the wives and the children, you send it back to the people, you know what's going to happen to those people? They got more, they prospered more than us. And they're going to get the ruach of hatred on the inside of them. And you know what happens after that? Then y'all got the ruach of hatred for your neighbor, because you don't want to hear, love your neighbor if you love yourself, like David's doing right here. That's all he's doing. Love your neighbor if you love yourself. And then now you're going to hate them, and then they're going to hate you back because you ain't giving none of the spoil. They're going to talk about you when you come back. You be like, man, they're little selfish people. And they ain't going to be praying for no perfect prosperity. And they know what happens? It creates a whole people of Satan. It creates a whole people of Satan. Because they prideful. They pride. Everybody of the devil. You want to turn other people into Satan? Everybody alike. And he made it a statute and a rule for Yasharal from that day forward to this day. Yahuwah's statutes and judgment, you know how he said he made that a statute and judgment. Why? Because he's trying to prevent something from happening. Because he knows if all of you start doing your own thing and making things up, then it destroys the equality. And everybody alike, one person prospering for another person. I got more, you got this, I got that. He said everybody's alike because it just creates equality. Get for 26. And when Dawid came to Ziklag, he sent part of the spoil to his friends. You are my friends, you whatsoever I command you. He sent it to his friends, the elders of Yehudah, saying, he sent it to the friends, his elders of Yehudah, saying, here is a present for you from the spoil of the enemies of Yehudah. He gave a present. You know what happened? It was for those in Bethal and Ramoth and Neged and Jathir and Arer and Zimramoth and Estemoa and Rakal in the cities of the Jerahmeelites, in the cities of the Kenites, in Horah, in Baran, in Atah, in Hebron, for all the places where Dawid and his men had roamed. So why we do all that? Because it's important, right? Because everybody wants to be, right? And these are a part. This is the part of his whole, Yahuwah's whole thing. Right? This is all a part of it, right? So this is the book of Philippians. Philippians chapter 2 and 6. Philippians chapter 2 verse 6. And it says, who though he was in the form of Elohim, did not count equality with Elohim a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking on the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even the death of the totality, the cross. Therefore Elohim has highly exalted him and bestowed upon a name that is above every name. So when Ruth had a son with Obed, had a son with Boaz, and gave birth to Obed, he said, man, you gave birth to a redeemer. And then what happened after that? He was the father of Yeshua, who was the father of Dawid. But not even knowing that whole story was leading back to one man. Right? And in verse 9 it says, therefore Elohim has highly exalted him and bestowed him upon a name that is above every name, so at the name of Yahushua every knee should bow, in Shamayim and on the earth, and every tongue should confess that Yahushua Mashiach is master to the abode of Elohim. Verse 12 says, behold, therefore my beloved, therefore my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only in my presence, but much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. What did ephod at? Shall I go up? Ain't no salvation when you lost everything. Salvation when you get it all back. I gotta go get this stuff. You know, I said, David said, my wives got kidnapped. I ain't talking about some evil stuff. You talking about things that were already in his possession that were righteous, and they took it. And he's like, you know what he said? Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is Elohim who works in you. What do you think was working in him when he was going all the way to get to the camp? Had it been Satan, he'd have been like, Egyptian man, die, right? And just kept walking. Right? He gave him food, bread, helped him up, revived him. And he was like, man, look at him. Even though everything's been taken from him, he's still doing good deeds. He's still doing good deeds. Amazingly, right? That's what Dawid was doing until he came to the camp. And every tongue shall confess. He says, therefore, my beloved, as you have always obeyed, so now, not only in my presence, but more in my absence. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, for it is Elohim that works in you, but to will and to work for his good pleasure. Do all things without grumbling or disputing. Isn't that what they were doing after they got all the spoil? It's like, we're not giving nothing to them. They didn't go down to the war. He said, those who were watching the baggage, they couldn't cross the brook. You know, that's what they were thinking. They couldn't even cross the water. They got tired. He said, everybody alike. He said, everybody's alike. Even though they couldn't cross the river and get over to the other side, they were tired. He said, everybody alike. They washed the baggage. Do everything without grumbling or disputing, that you may be blameless and innocent. That's why David stopped him. Who's going to hear you in this matter? Children of Elohim. Now you see why he stopped him. Without blemish. In the midst of a crooked and twisted generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world. You mean the Bith Shamash, the house of the sun. The house of the sun. The Philistines weren't like, let us return back his wives and his children in the spoil and make sure we send a gift back. They didn't do that. You think they did that? No, they didn't do that. But they got their play in 1 hour and they were done. And it says, holding fast to, get what it says, holding fast to the word of life, so that in the day of Mashiach, I may be proud that I did not run in vain or labor in vain. Isn't it what they did? All the men that were running with David, and then they couldn't cross the brook, he said they ran to that river in vain. They couldn't cross the other side. But the people that were strong enough were able to cross the other side because they held to the bar, even though they couldn't cross the river. Shaul was like the 200 men that could not cross the river to go fight the battle. But he said, though I may have run in vain, I ran all the way to that river in vain, but y'all crossed to the other side. I'm hoping that you'll do things and hold to the word of life while you go and accomplish what you're going to accomplish. But you know, when they went to accomplish what they went to accomplish, they came back with the spoil, and you know what they did? We ain't giving them people that ain't crossed that river brook. They're just giving their wives and their children. We're not giving them none of the spoil. And now then Shaul becomes like the men that they were disputing, they want to do nothing against. And then David stepped in and said, not so. Everybody's alike. Verse 16, holding fast to the word of life, so that in the day of Mashiach I may be proud that I did not run and labor in vain, even if I am to be poured out like a drink offering upon the sacrificial offering of your Amunah, I am glad and rejoice with you all, because everybody alike. Likewise, you also should be glad and rejoice with me, because everybody alike. Everybody, you should rejoice with me. He's like, why not? Because he said, you are your father Satan, this one. He said, you should rejoice with me. Verse 19, I hope in Yahuwah, I hope in the Master Yahusha. Right, we don't go there. Right. That's the whole point. It's a whole nother thing to go with that. But because when you start looking at what Dawid did, he said everybody's gonna be in equality, we're all alike, right? Because it's all a part of it, right? It's all a part of it. Almost finished. We're almost done. Right? This is 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 24. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 24. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 23. Actually, let's go. Verse 17. If the whole body were an eye, where would be the sense of hearing? If the whole body was an ear, where would be the sense of smell? But as it is, Elohim arranged the members in the body, each one of them, as he chooses. If all were a single member, where would the body be? As it is, there are many parts, yet one body. The eye cannot say to the hand, I have no need of you, nor again the hand to the feet, I have no need of you. On the contrary, the parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. Why? Because everybody's alike. That's why they couldn't cross. They were weaker though. They couldn't get over the brook. They couldn't get over the water. They got to the river. They ran, but they like, man, look at him. That's about it. Woo. That's about it, boy. But they weren't indispensable though. But they wanted them to be indispensable after they got the spoil though. And all those parts of the body that we think less honorable, we bestow greater honor. That's why they was like everybody alive. And our unpresentable parts are treated with greater modesty, right? He said, I can't show you. He said, presentable. You know, that evil part of yourself. He said, evil and worthless fellows that were among David when they took the spoil. he's like, man, you're unpresentable. We can't show you to the world. Y'all can't be out here. Right? You got evil parts too, no? Which are more presentable parts do not require. They can be present themselves to the world because they have something about them. But Elohim has so composed the body, giving greater honor to the parts that lack it, that there be no division in the body. That's why David always like everybody like, hey. Then he sent it to his friends, the elders. He sent the gifts to them. He didn't even keep nothing for himself. He didn't even keep nothing for himself. You know what happened after that? That there may be no division among the body, but that the members may have the same care one for another. That's why he told the soldiers, the worthless fellows. He's like, yeah, we're just giving back their wives and their children and let them go, but we're not giving them none of the spoil. If you ain't got to care one for another, you're gonna trample on one another. You're gonna wish that people were dead. That's why Dawid helped the Egyptian person that was left for dead and that was sick, and he helped them revive this soul. If you don't got care one for another, there ain't no way you're going to have care for an Egyptian, for a Mizraim, for an Ammonite, for a Moabite that's left for dead, that's sick, and that's afflicted, for a Hamite or a person that's from another place. There's no way you're going to be to a homeless person that's hungry, a person who got nothing to eat, or an animal that's wounded. You're not going to have care for that. There's no way. Because you do it to each other every day. That rhymes. Verse 26, if one member suffers, all suffer together. He said you interconnected. Like interconnected trees throughout the whole world. From the soil, that's one. From the ruach, the wind, that's one. You're all interconnected. We all suffer together. That's why the whole world, when one person suffers, everybody should be like, man, what in the world going on? But that's not today. If one member is honored, all rejoice together. Not today. Anything you heard of, anything they prospered, it was an abomination. They got a ruach of hatred on the inside. They got a ruach of hatred. Now you are the body of Mashiach and individually members of it. He said individually. And Elohim has appointed in the body first Shalakim, second Nabi'im, first Shalakim, second Nabi'im, third teachers. He said he third place. He said you third. Then miracles. He said so until that. He said I did miracles. How you do all? You know how people say. You know, people say we did all these miracles and stuff. They healed the sick, raised the dead. How y'all did all that? Look at all this stuff, y'all. People, you hate. They hate people all around. They can't even cohabitate. He looks better than me. He does this better than me. Like, it's so much hatred, the ruach of hatred. He said it ain't authentic. He said authentic miracles, authentic gifts of healing. Authentic helping. That's what David did. Dawid, he stepped in and he said, you know what, that person's sick. He ain't got nothing to eat. Let's help him out. And then we cut a deal with him. We ain't going to kill him. He did all that. He said, man, I ain't going to do nothing to you, man. I just want things that was taken from me. Can you help us? That's all I want. Then miracles and gifts of healing. Helping. administrating in various kinds of tongues. Are all shalakim? Are all nabi'im? Are all teachers? Do all work miracles? Do all possess gifts of healing? Do all speak with tongues? Do all interpret? But earnestly desire the higher gifts. Say higher, higher, highest. And I will show you a more excellent way. Right? It's a whole point, right? So this is Proverbs chapter 29, 23. Proverbs 29, 23. It says, one's pride will bring him low, but he who is lowly in Ruach will obtain honor. Why? Because when you start to understand what is lowliness, he said, why would I be lowly? That word for lowly is shafal. It's shafal, to be low and humble. When they brought that Ark of the Covenant back with the gift, they like, man, look at here. Those the animals that were carrying it were low. Right? It was a reason why. That word for it, he said, one's pride will bring him low. That's what happens when you get prideful, to bring you lowly. He said, man, you were lowly? He said, I was prideful before. But he who is lowly in Ruach will attain honor, right? The word for lowly is shafal, it means humble. Right? It means low, right? That's what happens, right? This Psalms 37, 7 through 11. Be still before Yahuwah and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself over the one who prosper in the way. And then what they did, they stole everything from their king. That's what happened in the Testament of God. He was so angry and so distraught because he heard the prosperity. He heard all this stuff. He said, if any man, spirit of Ruach of hatred, don't like when people prosper. It's an abomination. But he said, fret not yourself or Qahalath over the one who prospers in the way, over the man who carries out evil devices. He said, don't even do it. The one who gives birth to lies and deceit. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. That's what happens. Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. Why? Because that's a part of it. Fret or Qahalath not yourself. It tends only to evil. It's going to tend to what? Giving birth to evil in Satan. For evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for Yahuwah shall inherit the Aydahs. He said, I'm waiting. He said, eventually. What happened when they took everything from Dawid? Eventually, they inherited it and got it all back and more. And then he was able to give gifts to other people. Because when you get more, that's the only reason. I'm going to give some gifts to people. He said, I'm going to give some gifts. That's why they said when Yahushua, he said when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive, he gave gifts unto men. You know what Dawid did to them after they got the spoil? So you think that was about Dawid? Verse 9. For the evildoers shall be cut off, but those who wait for Yahuwah shall inherit the Aydahs. In just a little while, the wicked will be no more. Though you look carefully at his place, he will not be there. But the meek shall inherit the Aydahs, the Aydah, and delight themselves in the abundance of shalom, right? In the abundance of peace. Right? It said, be still. That word for be still is daman. And be silent, be still. Wait, to make quiet. Be silenced. Why? He said, wait for Yahuwah. Be quiet. Because he coming. Right? He said, but the meek, that word for meek is Aydah, right? Ayin Nun Wu. See a life, the resprout, and be joined to it and secured. But the Aydah shall inherit the Aydahs, the afflicted, the meek, the needy, the poor, the afflicted, the humble. He said, we're going to inherit the earth, right? You're going to be an abundance of peace, shalom, completeness, soundness, quiet, peace, happy, welfare, prosperity, right? That's what's going to happen to you. This is book of Proverbs 16, 19 through 20. It is better, this is what I wanted though. Look at this. Proverbs 16, 19 through 20. It is better to be of a shafal ruach, right? I put a new, but it says shafal ruach, that word for lowly, or he say ruach, shafal, ruach, right? That's a humble ruach with the Einu, with the poor, than to divide the spoil with the proud. You know what they did when they came to Dawid? They got the actual spoil from the actual Philistines that they took, the extra. You know what they did? We not giving it to them. We just gonna give them back their wives and their children and let every man go to his house. We're not giving them out of the spoil. He called them worthless and evil fellow men that were among Dawid. And he said, not so. We are all alike. Because they wanted to divide the spoil, because they were proud. They were so proud. They had so much pride for what they accomplished. They didn't want to divide the spoil with the poor, those who were not fit to make it over. So he said, everybody alike. So it's better to be of a lowly with the Einu, Ruach, than the ones who divide the spoil with the proud, those who get all the money and rich. And they felt like they were somebody. But Dawid remained lowly and Einu. And he said, not so. And then he gave gifts to other people. And he didn't even keep none for himself. Whosoever gives thought to the word will discover good. That's what he did. He started thinking about the bar. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. And he wasn't thinking about the worthless men that were around him. He said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because the ruach of hatred will not listen to love your neighbor as you love yourself. But then the worthless men finally listened and said, you know what? You got to obey Yahushua Mashiach. It says, and Barak is the one who trusts in Yahuwah. And then what Dawid did? He went and got the ephod. He said, shall I go up? But he had to do some things along the way, though. He had to cross a river, and then he had to help somebody who was down and sick, and then was getting ready to die. That wasn't even of his people. This is Sirach 3:17 through 23. My son or daughter, go on thy business in meekness. Einu, Shafal, Anah. So shalt thou be beloved of him that is approved. What David's name mean? David's name means beloved. You think it was talking about David? He's talking about you. He was talking about each and every one of us. Verse 18, the greater thou art, the more humble thyself. Why do you think he was so great? But he humbled himself. He stayed lowly and Einu. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. Not so. Everybody alike. Verse 19, many are in high places and renowned, but mysteries are revealed unto the Einu, the meek. For the power of Yahuwah is great and honor with the lowly man and woman. Like Abigail. You think Abigail wasn't thinking about she in the prison dungeon with a bunch of men she don't even know? And his other wife, you think they weren't thinking about, man, I could get raped. They could make a child and rape me right now. They can do all types of things to me. You think they weren't thinking, they weren't in distress? You think all the other wives and children weren't thinking about their husbands and their families? You think they weren't thinking about all the things they were taken away from? Think about the mindset they had to have to trust in Yahuwah, saying, no, Yahuwah's going to deliver us out of this. Think about it. Many are in high place and renowned, but mysteries revealed to the meek. For the power of Yahuwah is great and honor with the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee. Neither search for things that are above thy strength. He's like, when Yahuwah, he said, Yahuwah, because remember, he could have easily just went and got him. But it was above his strength. He's like, okay, Yahuwah, shall we go up? Shall it come into my hand? Because it was above his strength. He said, go up. I'll give it to you. That's the only reason he's going to go up. Because he said, this is way above my strength. Because I'm crying and weeping on the ground, and I don't even know how I'm going to get there. And everybody want to stone me. But it says, verse 22, but what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men and women understand. Right, so we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. Look at the true light of life. We look at the understanding to understand. And he said to walk in righteousness continually, not to form and shape our thoughts like an adder, like a snake in a hole, in order to give birth or eat adder's eggs and cobra eggs, in order to even allow Satan to take seeds out of our mind and bring us to wrath and hatred within ourselves. So we look at our inward man, we look at our inward thoughts, and we always make sure that one seek those things which are above in the bar of Yahuwah and not only earth, and divide the spoil with the proud. And not have care one for another, not have care for your neighbor, not have care for your family, your children, not have care for anybody. For we know in part, we not be in part. That which is perfect comes, and that which in part is done away. Right. So this is Nazarene Acts of the Shalakim, recognitions of Clement. Nazarene Acts of the Shalakim, recognitions of Clement. Suffering and Psaltery. This is page 124, chapter 6. By the most righteous judgment, Yahuwah therefore labors and afflictions are assigned as a remedy of men languishing in the vanity of such thoughts. And when labor and tribulations come upon them, they were excluded from the place of delights and benignity. Also the earth began to produce nothing to them without labor. And then men's thoughts being turned in them, they were warned to seek the aid of their Creator, and by prayers and vows to ask for divine protection. That's why he told us to go on our clock. That's why David got the ephod. Why? Because it's a part of, how you say, Yahuwah's judgment, but also it's a part of his correction. And thus it came to pass that the worship of Yahuwah, which they had neglected by reason of their prosperity, that's what they got. They recovered through their adversity. That's why David's stuff was taken, because it caused him to worship Yahuwah. It caused him to seek him out. It caused him to get the ephod. It caused him to trust in him. It caused him to do good to other people. And then it caused him to say everybody alike. And it caused him to do what? Give gifts to his friends and elders, to the people all around. That's the only way he's going to get you back. That's the only way. It says, recovered through adversity, and their thoughts toward Yahuwah, which indulgence had perverted. It did. Affliction corrected. You know, that's why you don't want to actually, man, I hope you die. I mean, people in affliction is there for correction. Yahuwah, be gracious to me. Remember my affliction. They hoping I die. They speak nothing good about me. They want me to perish. But he said, affliction corrected. So therefore, Yahuwah sees that this was more profitable to man. Removed from them the ways of dignity and abundance, and being hurtful, and introduced the way of vexation and tribulation. That's the only reason he does it. So it's a part of the whole thing. Because tribulation works patience. Right? We're gonna go there right quick and we finish. This is the last thing. This is the book of Ephesians, I think. Romans chapter 5, verse 1. Romans chapter 5, verse 1, and we finish. Romans chapter 5, verse 1. It says, therefore, since we have been justified by Amunah, we have peace, shalom, with Elohim, abundance of peace, soundness, completeness. Through our Master, Yahushua Mashiach. Through him, we have also obtained access by Amunah, by his Khan, in which we stand, and we rejoice in hope of the kabod of Elohim. Not only that, we rejoice in our suffering, because affliction is a part of the correction. You get what happened? Knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame. Some translations say experience. But Elohim's love have been poured out into our hearts through the Kudash Ruach, who has been given to us. For while we were still weak, weren't those men weak that couldn't cross the river? Weren't those people weak? The women and children that were taken captive? But it was all there to correct. Because through prosperity and abundance, people forgot about Yahuwah. So therefore, he does these things to bring everything back into alignment, even to correct the proud and the worthless men, the evil men that were around David. So the more you have, the more correction. But that's all part of it. But it's all for correction. For while we were still weak, at the right time, Mashiach died for the unrighteous. He rescued us. He gave us salvation. That's what it was, all at the right time. Perfect time. For one will scarcely, for one will scarcely die for a righteous person. He's like, man, look at him. You think if somebody gonna die for you? For one will scarcely die for a righteous person. But guess what? Though perhaps for a good one dares not even to die. But Elohim shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. A good person, yeah, man, I'll rescue that person. A righteous person, I'll rescue that person. You know what people say. But when they are evil, hateful, unloving, uncaring, wicked human being, will you die for him? Will you die for her? That's the whole point. Because anybody do it for a good person. He said, righteous person, scarcely, like you have. But he said, these people, you most vilest, evilest people on earth. He said, but Elohim shows his love for us, that while we were still sinners, Mashiach died for us. Man, he went even lower than a righteous person and a good person. He said, man, go rescue him, please, right? But Yahushua came and get some evil people. But Elohim shows his love for us, that while we were still sinners, Mashiach died. Since therefore we have been justified by his blood, much more shall we be saved by him from the wrath of Elohim. For if while we were enemies, we were reconciled to Elohim by the death of his son, much more now we are reconciled, shall we be saved by his life. More that, we also rejoice in Elohim through our Master Yahushua, through whom we have now received reconciliation. And the only way you're going to get reconciliation, that means you had to go away. But then you had to bring some tribulation in your life to bring you back so you can understand who he is. So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at him fulfilling both male and female, knowing that he was the son of Dawid. For he came out from the lineage of Obed, the Redeemer. But then also he was and is the man that man proclaims to be the one who saved man from their sins. And that is Yahushua Mashiach. For Dawid's sepulchre, he's dead. He said his sepulchre is still there to this day. But then he said this man did not see corruption. For this man rose on the third day. And by rising on the third day, he rose us up, even when men said we will never rise again. And by giving us his bread and his water, we were like the Egyptian man on the side of the road, left for dead because we were sick. And he helped us up and he revived our soul. He said, the only thing you promise me, when you come back, please remember me, that I helped. The things that we do in life are a part of our journey, the good and the evil. For the evil things that we do, we get punished for. The good things he gives us, he takes us to tribulation, that we don't forget where we came from and who gave it to him, gave it to us. So we look at our inward man, we look at our inward thoughts. We always focus on the things above and not on things in the earth. For knowing that the things in the earth will soon pass away, and this life will be over. But the next life is life eternal. For Barak are the meek, right? Barak are the Aydah, for they go on their way in business and meekness. For thou shalt be, and then they will be beloved. And then he's knowing that Yahuwah is great, and he's honored with the lowly. Knowing that he's honored with the lowly, one should walk in humbleness and meekness all the days of their life. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.